I love getting hate mail. Got a great email today from a true fundamentalist Christian who purported to tell me that only Christianity could lead me to love, and then sent a bunch of supporting quotes about the wrath of God and how thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. Go figure. Didn't exactly sound loving. It more sounded, convert or die. And man, we are, at least I am so far past that fear-mongering idea. I do not believe that love is the fear of God. I just don't. Never have been. It is one black ruse, and I'm not falling for it. So I'm going to answer back with a story that, when I first heard it, just changed my entire life, and I knew it. It's one of those stories that I heard, and I could feel my old life slipping away, and I didn't care. The beauty of this story just rocked me to the core, and I heard it when I was about 12, and I knew at that point that Wicca would be a part of me forever. And it's looking like that's the way it's going to be. No story anywhere else has touched me like this particular story has. This story has led me to other stories that have just floored me, but this was the one that planted the seed, and it grew into one big mighty oak. And when I became a third-degree priest king of my tradition, this was the story that was read to me again, and I had come full circle. And it took me the better part of 9 years to gain the position that I hold now. And I had to suffer through each initiation. And we're talking real suffering and real angst, and I had to prove that I was there and prove that I was willing to do what I promised I would do to achieve those levels. And they could be 3-4 days long, and some of them I had to bleed, some of them I'm not going to go into every bit of it, but there was some true intense suffering, and I didn't pass every single one of them each time. It came down right to the last hour sometimes, and we all realized that I just wasn't ready yet. But this story kept me going and pulled me through. And when I fully received my sword and my crown, everything made sense. Everything made sense. This story represents the powerful polarities of Wicca. How essentially important it is to have the god and the goddess. How essential it is to have the twin pillars of beauty and strength. I'm going to give you a secret that isn't talked about much. Strength supports beauty. Beauty inspires strength. That's the male and female, the god and goddess right there. The two pillars that you can rest yourselves against, because they will never ever fail you. This is the story. This is the story that says there will always be a beginning, even at the darkest end. And that's a lot of comfort for me. There's a lot of comfort for me, and I've written in the hundreds of pages. I'm not kidding, and one day I'm actually going to publish them or put them on ebook of this story alone. Hundreds of pages, dissertation, going through each paragraph of the story, because there's nothing in Wicca, in an incredibly powerful tradition of Wicca, that this story doesn't touch on or explain in detail for those who are initiated to know what they're reading. I'm not going to give those secrets out. I'm just going to read this story, because I don't know how many of you have actually ever heard it. And maybe at some point I'll start releasing that information, but I want you to have it, and I want you to understand what a life-changing and initiation-based story this is, because this is something that I actually had to go through. So I want to show love through the Wiccan tradition, and this is how I'm going to answer back that hate mail. Dia, Our Lady and Goddess, would solve all the mysteries, even the mystery of death. And so she journeyed to the underworld in her boat upon the sacred river of descent. Then it came to pass, as she entered before the first of the 7 gates of the underworld, and the guardian challenged her, demanding one of her garments for passage. For nothing may be received except that something be given in return. And at each of the gates the goddess was requested to pay the price of her passage. For the guardian spoke to her, "Strip off your garments, set aside your jewels, for nothing you may bring with you into this our realm." So Dia surrendered her jewels and her clothing to the guardians, and was bound as all living beings must be who seek to enter the realm of death and the mighty ones. At the first gate, she gave over her scepter. At the second, her crown. At the third, her necklace. The fourth, her ring. At the fifth, her girdle. At the sixth, her sandals. And at the seventh, her gown. Dia stood naked and was presented bound to Dis. And such was her beauty that Death himself knelt as she entered. He laid his crown and his sword at her feet, saying, "Blessed are your feet, which have brought you down this path." Then he arose and said, "Dia, stay with me, I pray, and receive my touch upon your heart." And Dia replied to Dis, "But I love you not. For why do you cause all things that I love and take delight in to wither and die?" "My lady," replied Dis, "it is age and fate against which you speak. I am helpless, for age causes all things to wither and die. But when men die at the end of their time, I give them rest, peace, and strength. For a time they dwell within the moon, and with the spirits of the moon. Then they may return to the world of the living. But you are so lovely, and I ask you not to return, but abide with me here in my kingdom." But Dia answered, "No, for I love you not." Then Dis said, "If you refuse to embrace me, then you must kneel before death's scourge." Then the goddess answered him, "If it is to be, then it is fate, and better so." So Dia knelt in submission before the hand of death, and he scourged her with so tender a hand that she cried out, "I know your pain, death, and the pain is love." Dis raised to his feet and raised Dia to hers. "Blessed are you, my queen and my lady." Then Dis gave her the 5-fold kiss of initiation, saying, "Only to this may you attain the knowledge and the joy of love. And he taught her all his mysteries. He gave her the necklace, which is the circle of rebirth. And she taught him the mysteries of the sacred cup, which is the cauldron of rebirth. They loved and they joined in union with each other, and for a time Dia dwelt in the realm of Dis. For there are three mysteries in the life of man, and they are sex, birth, and death. But love rules them all. To fulfill love, you must return again at the place where those who loved you are. And you must meet, recognize, and remember, and love them again anew. But to be reborn, you must die and be made for a new body. And to die, you must be born. For without love, you may not be born among your own. But our goddess is inclined to favor love and joy and happiness. She guards and cherishes her hidden children in this life and in the next. In death, she reveals the way to her communion, and in life, she teaches them the magic of the circle, which is set between the worlds of men and the gods. That is an amazingly powerful story. And as we meditate on it, and as we begin to break it down, it teaches us all the aspects of God and Goddess in the tradition of Wicca. And the beauty and strength of it surpass so much fear and anger and pain that those who are fearful of what true paganism is project upon you. This is a story because of those mighty pillars of beauty and strength. Strength supporting beauty, beauty inspiring strength. That this story is something that will hold you up and build you back up as life and all the mechanisms of deceit and manipulation and fabricated fear tear you down, because it is designed to wear you down. Because of this, we need something that will build us back up. And this story restores so much strength and faith and hope inside me that every time I read it, I realize the inner hero and the inner God within me, and I can see the goddess in all other women that I know. That's how powerful it is. And I want to share this with you because, one, not a lot of Wiccans understand what their religion really is, or what it could be, and what it is based on. This story bridges giant gaps and fills huge holes of emptiness that New Age Wicca deliberately leaves open. It covers the pitfalls. I welcome anyone interested in Wicca to listen to this story over and over again and study it and try to pick out those essential qualities that the story keeps, and in some cases hidden in plain view, of what real mysteries of Wicca there is. I'm glad I get to share this with you. And I hope that you find this story as inspiring and as strength building and as worthy of love as I do.